All right, tonight on Podcast 'em Down. It's been 160 episodes in 18 months, but we're sitting down and figuring out how to talk about music.
Cast them down.
Hail, Metal Nation! It is I, Tim, and that was, of course, Doug and Matt. And, this is a metal podcast, and we realize it's high time to review metal things. And now we've been reviewing the metalness of things, but it is time this year to review metal releases. So that is the plan. And we're going to figure out how we're going to do it, just like Doug said. What?
When you say this year, do you mean this year or the year that they're listening in?
The year that they're listening in.
Okay. All right. But not this year, but that year.
How about the year this is published? Because what if they come back to it in further years?
Oh yeah, like if like our kids are listening to this to hear what their departed parents' voices sounded
Matt,
like.
There'd be so much more clarity if Tim didn't cut off the metal line tag you just recorded.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, Tim. We started this episode, as the listeners know, Metal Line, December 15th, 2022. Crystal clear. And yet I guarantee that has been cut off as it is in every fucking episode for some perverse reason. Yeah, I think it's a cost-cutting mechanism, Doug. I think it's so he can futz around with the order of the shows and pretend we're like live and current. Like he has a backlog of 80 shows.
Yeah.
Do you know what other type of YouTuber always announces the day and time often of their videos is flat earthers.
Well, I mean,
watch some flat Earth videos, and they're all like, "Oh, it's Tuesday at 10 a.m. East Coast time."
Well, first of all, I'm a little insulted that you're assuming that at least one of us isn't a flat earther. And number two, that's a good practice. That's a best practice.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome back to the Flat Earth Hour.
Yep. And
one of the three of us doesn't believe the Earth is round. We'll leave it to you to figure out who.
Yeah.
It's ellipsoid.
I mean, just for the record, one of us believes the Earth is round, just that it's not a sphere.
It's not a sphere.
Right. Oh, yeah. See? Uh-oh. Is that a clue?
All right. So we're because this is a heavy metal podcast, we have to get complex and pedantic about everything. Mm-hmm. So we're here to figure out the format for our discussion and collation and distillation of our opinions to capture in the Podcast 'em Down Codex of metal.
And do it timely.
Right.
That's the other thing.
So and this is going to be about reviewing albums, but potentially transferable. But, my radical premise here is, what is a typical album review? I'm trying to think Pitchfork, Blabbermouth. It's all just some number out of 10. But that doesn't really capture what an album is or what it's about. My radical premise here is the format of this review should not just capture the songs, the songwriting and all that, but the experience of listening to the album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I feel like those are dangerously subjective notions. And as we've established, our metal methodology is one of objective judgment. So even though I like all those features, we're going to have to find a way to ensure that, our weak, inferior feelings aren't somehow tainting our cold, blade-like metal objectivity.
Oh, I'm with you there. So what is an album? It's songs, but I think metal, more than many rock genres, is album oriented.
Okay.
And so what I'm getting at is something like Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
All right. Thank you for clarifying.
That's a great sounding record with some great songs, but Metallica has limited ability to self-edit. So if we were to judge the record as having a beginning, a middle, and an end, and score the experience of listening to each part of the album, it would be much weaker than if an actual producer or anyone to push back and say, hey, let's do 8 songs at 45 minutes.
I just noticed I still got my Christmas shit up. So.
Well, yeah, because it's Christmas. Oh, holy shit! He's in space now, ladies and gentlemen. He fell off the edge of the earth.
All right, so here's what I'm proposing. Okay. We score albums. So how do we do Man-O-War? That was what? Music.
How did we do that? We did music, artwork,
production. I believe there was like an intangibles category or miscellaneous, perhaps. That's a very good question. How we did that?
No bracket. Art, recording, lineup, music, lyrics, miscellaneous.
See, here's my initial proposal. So we score a record in 3 acts, essentially.
Okay.
Then we score at least the artwork and possibly the production, though you could really boil all that up. But and there you have 5 scores per person per record. Which should,
there's going to be a lot of bookkeeping.
Well, I mean,
as it should be.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that like it's a bad thing. I mean, I if I was in a band, I would appreciate people telling me exactly how metal or unmetal my album was.
Because you may have 6 great songs that they come off this record, they're integral to your live set, whatever. That's not what we're talking about
at all.
You want us to talk about your song, put out a single. We're reviewing a record. And that needs to flow, and there needs to be some drama to it.
Like, for example, I could shit in a box and mark it guaranteed for you, but all you have is a guaranteed piece of shit.
Exactly. And so what's unique to metal otherwise? I would argue presentation is very important. And for instance, Tim, this is where that Ripper record is going to score very well. Okay. That's a classic metal cover. They spent the money, they put in the time.
I have many thoughts on that, but I will save them for the episode. So you bring up that, or does that mean we're allowing EPs? Because that's an EP, even though it's like 6 tracks.
Well, I would say an EP would generally fall in the same judgment frame. A single is a more interesting discussion because I'd argue a single should really be about the one song and forget the B-side. But we'll cross that when we get to it.
I don't think singles have B-sides anymore.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They increasingly have art, though. I think there's a good discussion on EPs for later.
Well, there was a band we discussed. Oh, I didn't mean to put that in front of me.
I mean, I like what you did there.
Yeah, can you just leave this?
Yeah. I mean, please don't fix it. Oh yeah, look at this shit. Yeah. So I think that's all fine. That seems well and good to me.
I'm gonna crop out the band name.
So all right, let's operationalize this.
Okay.
If we're talking beginning, middle, and end, which I think to keep things simple, unlike the Star Trek reviews, we simply frame it in threes, traditional dramatic arc.
Okay.
But is the beginning, or is each segment a third of the record, or is it 2 songs at the beginning, 2 songs at the end, and then everything else in the middle?
Well, if the flow is good, it should be self-evident where things are.
So is it part of the discourse to decide
like
that each record?
that seems a lot, though. We don't want to get too crazy, because I do think that
can we accept a simplification and either say 3 songs or divide by 3? Because you could argue a punchy opening might be 3 songs. Maybe a good ending is only factoring 2 songs.
Well, in the case of Ripper, there's only one ending. I'd call the rest middle. I call the first 2 openings. So that's 2, 3, 1.
You know what? I think you're right. I think it is relative to the album. The more that I think about it, unfortunately, and I dislike that, but I think it's a necessary caveat we're going to have to make. You know, there could be some very nice concept album that has a very extended beginning, right? Versus like your classic mishmash shoebox full of songs. And then we could even debate if it's missing some critical element. Like, does it begin in the middle and end at the beginning? So, okay, I'm warming to this. I'm warming to this concept.
Are we all providing a score which we will then average, or are we going to all agree on a score?
Well, agreement. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Doug, but agreement doesn't sound very metal to me.
No, and we know.
Good. That was.
We know to the extent that things can be simplified into numbers. Averaging has worked well.
Averaging has worked well, and also, if you remember, for the Star Trek reviews, we have a raw score, which tells you how many points out of all the possible points it gets, which is even better than an average. Because a good album should maximally satisfy the 3 of us. Yeah. That's a great album. And if you don't satisfy, you know, if Tim really loves your album, but Doug, you think it's poo-poo, then I don't think you can call that a great album, even if it's Tim's favorite album ever. Sorry, Tim, you suck.
And they might lose some stuff in the margins there, but this makes it interpretable to everyone.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's
the answer. Are we all doing a score? I'm clearly
doing a score.
We're all doing a score.
We're all doing a score.
Oh, that makes it so much harder. Okay.
Well, we ain't playing for peanuts here, Tim. We're coming up with a definitive codex, a definitive record.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Of the podcast him down assessment of heavy metal.
You know, Jonas Salk, when he developed the polio vaccine, did some hard work. That wasn't a cakewalk walk in the park, but he did it because humanity needed him to do it. And I feel like that is the only conceivable comparable to our work in these metal album reviews.
And he didn't skimp out on producing no worksheet.
Yeah. He didn't even have Excel. You know, he had to rule those lines out by hand.
So tell me what the categories you're proposing are again.
Well, there's Act 1, Act 2, or Act 3, or beginning, middle, end.
Mm-hmm.
And then I definitely think present.
What's that?
Each gets scored. Act 1 gets scored. Act 2 gets scored.
Yeah, so beginning, middle, end. But leave them ambiguous like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then certainly presentation is a separate score.
Yeah, presentation.
I like that a lot because that could be art, that could be packaging,
Yeah,
that could be production.
And this is where it's interesting because do we roll up? Yeah, you could put production in there, and maybe we keep it simple like that.
I say, you know what? This is a challenge for us, but I say 5 categories. And so right now we have 4. And so we just need to come up with one more category. And that will also challenge us to think where we're going to fit our comments in.
About like trueness or metalness.
I'm with you, and I'm divided because it's just going to end up a wishy-washy. Like if we want to slant the score, this is our space to do that.
But that is important. It's at least here on the metal line, it's grading time, right? So as a professional who grades things, I can tell you sometimes when you go through the rubric, a paper or an assignment gets a score much higher than it should. You're like, by all the basic metrics, this should succeed. And yet I know this is a D- paper. So I need that wiggle room to let the truth beyond the sum of the parts, shine through. So I like trueness as a category, or metalness, or slaticity.
Well, it would be a way of we can avoid all of the because we're strangely inclusionary these days.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, if we were to review the new Clutch record, good band from Frederick, great new record, but it's more hard rock. The first song has metal in it, in the name.
It does.
But they probably would be a little middling in a metal score, a trueness score. And it's like Killing Joke, that 1990 album.
The Batman comic?
Yeah, it was a Batman comic, but they're this I don't know, post-punk, The Weight that Metallica covered is Killing Joke.
Mm-hmm.
They're metal in every single way except being a metal band.
Should I leave a space for Dave to vote?
Yeah, why not?
Yes.
Okay. The acts could be good, the presentation could be good, but if it's not like metal record, then it shouldn't get a good metal score.
Mm-hmm. Or there's a ceiling to it. Yeah.
Like, for example,
if we judge a Clutch record as a metal record, it may be fantastic, but it's going to have a lower ceiling than an 80s Slayer record.
Right. I mean, but I have a great example here. The Sheryl Crow record, Come On, Come On. I think both Tim and I would score quite highly. I mean, it has Tim's favorite song of all time, Soak Up the Sun. And yet, it's not very metal. So we need something like, I think it's a complete album. It tells a great story. It has a wonderful beginning, middle, and an end. Like coming in with Stephen McQueen, hitting you with Lucky Kid right at the midway point, and then leaving you out with Weather Channel and Missing. But there needs to be that metal grade to prevent us from making Come On, Come On the most metal record ever. Because if we didn't include that, we would likely make it so.
Yeah, agreed. Meanwhile, it would only make at most the top 79%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, again, I would argue, and I know Tim would argue, that Sheryl Crow is an unsung metal artist. He's told me this many times. And yet, I think it would damage the metal nation to hear this. Part of being a good steward of responsibility, Doug, is knowing when the public can hear the truth and when they have to be shielded from it. And so that's why I agreed. Trueness is the name of that category. and trueness is what we shall call it.
And that's something you get from Podcast Them Down, and not people that want to shield you from the cold hard truth like Metal Archives.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, so that breaks.
Put on the sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we? Is there stuff we would exclude from reviewing as not being metal enough?
I would say another deliverable, and this should be consensus, but with a dissent column, is we need to agree on the genre description, because taxonomy is so important. We're not gonna. It's not like a 6-word genre description, but American power metal.
Oh yeah, and that would be part of the trueness. How true is it to its what it purports to be? So like,
And if you can't put a label on it, that we, at least 2 of the 3 of us, understand, it doesn't belong here.
Right. And so I kind of think this is opening up an interesting Pandora's box, because I believe some of these reviews will be unanimous. This is a metal album. And then the episode could be called Metal Review. I don't know. Iron Maiden, Somewhere Out in Space, or whatever that album is called, right? Final Frontier is the name of the album. However, we could also have an equally interesting and important segment or episode type called Is It Metal? In which we bring something and part of our review is deciding if it's metal, right? Because I can imagine there's some borderline cases that Metal Nation needs typified and taxonomied.
I agree with that. We just have to judge everything in the same way. So the codex we're assembling is maximally interpretable.
Oh,
like
sure.
This is the one record.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh,
and we
of
should
course.
Be able to say, this record, this is right. One step below Rain, South of Heaven, and 3 above White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000.
Of course. And I think, these scores would help us, because they're broken down. Like, the trueness is, in a way, the metalness score. So just like in the Star Trek episodes, Doug, like, we could have a very high quality episode that's not very metal, and its absolute score, because we care about metal things, would be relatively low. You could get a perfect score on quality and a 0 score on metalness and be sitting at 50%. And I think a well done non-metal thing is just about a 50%. You're halfway there. Yeah. Now make it fucking metal.
And I think having the answer to scoring this with the record slightly decomposed like this, the wool will be removed from our eyes. It's like we had no idea that the Cincinnati Reds were the most metal team in Major League Baseball.
Right, no one did, except maybe Pete Rose.
And had we just, what's the most metal baseball team? We wouldn't have landed there. So this is going to make us answer to truth.
Because ultimately, Podcast Them Down is a revelatory experience. We are taking things out of darkness and bringing them into the light. Taking things in the light and throwing them back into the abyss. We are equalizing, justifying, brutalizing, and that's what we're here to do.
A couple quick points I wanted to discuss. Presentation, would that include lyric videos, music videos released in conjunction with the album? Like, is that part of it?
That's a gray area. If it's a pure promotion for the record, I'd entertain that. But I think, one of the precepts to all of this should be that it may be a great song. It might be a great song live. It might be integral to the live set, but we're talking about this song in the context of the experience of this record. So after saying that, maybe videos are.
Yeah. You'd have to turn it off and go watch the video.
But what if the album came out in 1997 and it's an enhanced CD and there's a hidden video track that you could play on Winamp or something?
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Matt. If it's included in the package,
okay.
However, then absolutely has to be factored.
I mean, I'm sure there's some. I hope a metal band hasn't done this, but I'm sure there's some kind of like horrible visual album that people like upload to YouTube, and the tracks are chapters or something. I can imagine that happening.
And there are definitely bands that have, recorded music videos for every single track on an album.
Or like, I know this one band, I used to really like them, but instead of a CD for their tour, they released a DVD. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is a music band, not a stop motion animation warehouse. I didn't buy the Corpse Bride. I want to listen to some groovy tunes,
Two things. I bought the Corpse Bride. And second, it comes with CDs, asshole. And you can buy those CDs.
Where can you get them?
The description.
but
yeah, and I think presentations were because a metal record comes with the lyrics printed in an insert if you buy it in physical form.
Okay.
The end. Fuck you, earache.
But but I do have to ask. I do have to ask. What about digital media? I mean, we might not have a, digipack. We might not even have.
Maybe we should just note what kind of release we reviewed.
Yeah, we should. Because I'm thinking Saint Anger, Tim.
Yeah, that came with a DVD where they performed all the songs better than on the proper record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if we were gonna review Steel Diplomacy, let's take Steel Diplomacy since it's already been mentioned. Would we review the CD? Would we review the DVD? Would we review them all?
When if you were to order Burning Shadows Steel Diplomacy live bootleg
from burningshadows.bandcamp.com,
you get 4 discs.
Okay.
That is the release. So you would have to review all of it, even though the Blu-ray and the DVD are identical, just one's higher resolution.
Okay. No, but I like this. I like this position, Doug. If we're reviewing a release, we're reviewing a release.
Yeah. I'd almost, if it comes to 3 discs, I would almost argue the best format tramples over the other ones if the recording is identical.
Okay.
But the audio's the same.
Okay, so we could listen. So for Steel Diplomacy, we could watch the Blu-ray and listen to the 2 CDs.
Yes.
Does the Blu-ray have every single thing the CDs have in the same order?
Yeah, I suppose you could just watch the Blu-ray and you've seen all the content. Yes.
But I feel like
then you have to go back to the presentation. You need to evaluate all the presentation.
All right, so we have to, I hate to use the word inclusive, but we have to be inclusive.
Yeah, but I think stuff like that is so few and far between because few bands are insightful enough to put out such a wide release of formats all at once.
Okay,
like that time we put out a digital version of an EP along with a CD version of an EP along with a mini disc version of the EP because as you know, Burning Shadows are visionaries.
Yeah. True visionaries.
And like we would get off the charts trueness scores because we are doing what is true that comes to us. So
okay. That's both true and fair.
And Into the Primordial, I'm just going to say it, wouldn't hold up too well even though it's got some of your best songs on it.
Oh, are you still mad about the the artwork?
Hey, one comment about Into the Primordial. Do you remember several houses ago?
Oh, I don't know where you're going, but I remember.
Yeah, so several houses ago, I had this like Frankenstein's monster stereo that I still have the amp for it, and I still have one of the sets of speakers, but it was 3 sets of speakers with different impedances wired partially in series and partially in parallel, right? And Into the Primordial sounded nothing short of amazing on that stereo, and unfortunately, that's what I used for my reference.
Oh,
I was like, this is perfect. Then you go listen to it on something else, and it doesn't sound as you don't get the crispness, you don't get the body of the 70s speakers, you know. So there was a time and place on this planet where that had the best production ever, and unfortunately, we dismantled it. How long ago was that? It was like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, that was like
That is pretty
2007.
metal to release an album that can only be experienced correctly in one place by a small specific group.
Yeah, and that was the same place where I captured the lightning. That
Oh yeah.
the intro of The Haunter of the Dark. So yeah, so that again, it was clearly another visionary move on my part.
Well, and that's an interesting, because I remember there were 2 masters of that. At least the 2 CDs I have. The second one, the second release, the second pressing, sounds so much better.
Thank you. Hey, so back to this.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're good on the is the rubric the correct word? Not really. It's not a rubric. It's just our categories.
Yeah, I mean it's our format. I would call it a rubric. It's our grading rubric. It's those things we will score when we're evaluating
I did have
heavy
another
metal music.
question, not about presentation. Oh, time limits.
Uh-huh.
In terms of how long ago did it come out? Are we going to open this up to any record ever? Or does it have to be like within the last year?
I think because of how important comparability here is, and the fact that we are truly assembling the podcast and down canon of heavy metal, that the scoring and the frame is the same, but we probably have a different label on the program segment for new releases compared to retrospective.
The year on there.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to say when we're reviewing it. I mean, like, think about
so the metal line stamp kind of secures.
Yeah. And we could well, yeah, of course the metal line, but we could also figure out like we just need like a year category or something, because we could see that way how metalness changes historically. I mean, this is again like everything we do. It's an important.
We need a
public
space for
service.
genre, then, don't we? Because we're going to establish that.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. So but those don't need to be scores, right?
Yeah. But if we want to do an analysis later,
Yeah. So we need year and genre.
And that's going to be fun because we're not going to go down the 6 adjectives rabbit hole.
Yeah, no. You get 3 max. And I'm not counting no hyphenated words.
So
Black and Death Doom.
yeah,
In the style of
Epic
Black and Death
90s
Doom,
Sweden. Yeah.
Black and Death Doom metal,
symphonic
would
sludge
not-
thrash.
Well, but is atmospheric black metal acceptable? I would say yes, because that is definitely a different version of. It's a different space within the black metal space.
And it's 3 words.
It's one core subgenre,
Yeah.
one descriptor.
Yeah, that's fine.
So funeral doom would also be.
You're in. Yeah, Funeral Doom, good.
But like funeral black and thrash wouldn't make sense.
You're getting on the borderline. That might be a debate.
I'm okay with that.
But like West Coast non-thrash speed doom? No.
What if it's Bay Area thrash? What then?
I think that's
Bay Area a legitimate descriptor there.
Yeah, because it would be like Testament, Exodus, Metallica.
Okay.
People for some dumb reason include Megadeth into that, even though they weren't from the Bay Area.
well, because they're wrong.
It's part of the sound. Yeah, I see. If we include Megadeth in there, I'm sold because we're describing a particular sound. If we're describing a time and place, I'm less about that.
Okay, as long as it describes a sound, but not overly, not to the point where it's marketing like some of these bands.
But I mean, there's continuity there. Like we can identify what Bay Area thrash. It's much more the kit bashy. I wrote 4 songs that don't go together, but I want to produce an EP, so I'm just going to throw everything together. And
we reviewed a promo for an album that, if we stated a genre for it, it would fail in its trueness to that genre.
Okay.
Right. I was poking around their Bandcamp to figure out what to call them. You know, because in the description I list all the genres and where they're from. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for it, and I listened to several seconds of the thing. I'm like, this is not epic rock or whatever they call themselves.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's fine.
Okay, so to review, in the information category, I have artist, album, year, format, genre, review date.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Can you, instead of review date, can you make that metal line?
Put that in
parentheses.
No, I like this. We were just capturing the basic attributes.
Yeah. And then Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, they all get separate scores. Then presentation and trueness.
Yep. Yeah.
Sound good? All right. And sounds like the first thing we're doing is Ripper's EP.
That sounds great to me. I guess I should probably listen to it before we do that, though.
Yeah, so you can look at Metal Nation. That'll be the next episode out the Thursday after this episode airs.
Whenever that is.
Which is this year.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. This year. Right. It sure is. Man, right. Can you believe what's going on in that sporting event? Unpredictable.
Those clowns did it again. What a bunch of clowns.
How does it keep up with the news like that?
There we go.
Yeah, perfect. I give us, are we scoring out of 10, I guess? I give us solid 10s or 2s or however it is we score these things.
I think it'll be out of 10 and with the same Star Trek rules.
Okay. Well, those are good, solid rules. So you mean like, I'm sorry that I'm coughing, everybody. I don't have COVID. Unlike some of us.
From my ass.
Anyway, you also can't get COVID in the radio unless this is the year of the super transmissible audio COVID that we all know about, in which case I'm sorry. But yeah, so if it's below 3, if it's between 3 and 7, we don't have to justify. Is that rule?
Keep the pace of the episode up.
Yeah. Just like those quick moving Star Trek reviews. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we our 20-minute discussion of how we're gonna do this has ballooned way past that. So
well, yeah, I mean,
I think we solved a lot of issues and we have a clear path forward.
And you know what, Metal Nation, I would encourage you to be just as thorough making other sorts of reviews. Don't let the star system on Yelp or Amazon bring you into a little box of judgment. Be concrete, be definitive, and be accurate. And that's my plea to you in this year of our Lord.
Well put, Nat. A record consists of 5 different points of judgment,
Exactly.
not the percentage
Yeah.
you get in Metal Archives.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Fuck those pieces of shit. 78%. What the fuck does that mean, Metal Archives? When you go to
But we're
podcast
still
them
gonna
down,
do this year, we're still going to do, as we mentioned in the year in review for last year.
Oh, yeah.
Still going to do the review battles.
oh, we are.
using of reviews.
Oh,
Yes.
we're definitely going to do that, just like we mentioned in the year in review. I also would like to do a game that I've been playing in my mind. And this game, let me just pitch it here. We talked about it already in the year in review. But this game is Find the Fake Review, in which we bring reviews from Metal Archives, and then we also write ridiculous reviews of our own. And it's a guessing game in which we have to tell which one's real.
As I mentioned in the year of review, that year in review, that sounds like prep I don't want to do.
I mean, I know, but I as you recall from that conversation, that was something that we have worked on. So don't worry about that. And it's old technology now this year. But in previous years, let's just say it's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. There's a twist. I know Matt is trying really hard not to let the cat out of the bag on.
Well, I mean,
you can hear it in the year wrap up discussion.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to restrain anything, Doug. I don't want to retread material we've already covered in quite a lot of depth.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up.
Yep.
So, until next time, Metal Nation, keep it in 3x so we can review it properly.